My friend Bill called, and I'm pretty sure he wants to move back in. See, a couple weeks ago he had been living with me, but there were a lot of issues. He'd moved out here to, you know, dodge some heat that was on him back in New York, and I get that. But living together was difficult. See, the thing about Bill is that he's been a Godzilla fan his whole life, and at one point he wished he could become Godzilla but still live amongst people. And then he turned into a human-sized Godzilla. I'm not exactly sure what happened. But yeah, he's coming over today to, you know, try and talk it out, and like I said, I'm pretty sure he wants to move back in. I don't know, we'll see, you know? Open mind and all that.
Ian, I'm sorry I tried to kill you, but I've been working on making myself a better person. You see, I've edited a 10-step program, and I've changed certain behaviors that you said bugged you. I just hope that you'll be more willing to accept me now.
What have you done to change?
Well, for starters, I am wearing clothes now.
You're still not wearing pants.
It's a process, Ian! Right now I need your support, not your judgment.
Alright, fine. You can stay with me again, though.
That's right, man. Roomies till the end, bro. Damn it, this is bullshit! This controller doesn't work right!
Dude, you have claws!
There you go again with all your freaking prejudice. I'm not the only American with claws, you know. What's your problem, Ian? Do you hate people with disabilities?
Ah, son of... Bill? Bill, what are you doing? Bill?
Dude, it's like 5 in the morning. Why are you doing laundry?
What am I doing up? You came into my room and scared the shit out of me, literally!
I did? Oh man, I must have been sleepwalking again. I'm sorry, bro.
So the whole sleepwalking thing was a bit terrifying. But it wasn't his fault. And I understand that, so, you know, we're still working things out, and we're gonna continue to live together, you know? It's gonna be okay, I'm sure.
Hey man, what are you up to?
Dude, are you serious?
Ooh, I'm sorry man, my tail must have bumped into it.
Damn it, Bill!
Sorry I have a tail, Ian. God, way to be a bigot.
Gentlemen! The time's come once again to discuss things.
He had 1,000
There's a reason they call him an elephant. Anyway. Hi everyone, welcome to this
I'm so confused.
I am Sid Part 2, and joining me today is Zazubar and Milan Jeftik 1992.
Greetings.
Oh my god, there's another voice in my head that sounds like me. Oh my god, you guys are voices in my head. This is not fair.
We've been telling you that for years, dude.
Oh.
Anyway. Welcome once again to this very, very fine show, Geeky Gentlemen. And this week, I hope you enjoyed our intro. We will be discussing the new Godzilla film.
Wait, there was a new Godzilla out?
Yes. See,
I
here's
thought
the
we
thing
were reviewing Neighbors. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you made that same joke on DFOS.
I know, but that's the thing is, it kind of fell flat on DFOS. I wanted to retry it here, see if it kind of worked.
No, it didn't. It's still just as not funny.
Oh, I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna try it again on SOS next week.
Okay then. Anyway, no, like, here's the reason we're reviewing Godzilla on this show. Bill has built up this movie in everyone's mind for like the last year of the show and for the last 4 years on his own channel. So, you know, Bill sold me that this is going to be a good movie. So if I'm going to discuss it with anyone, Bill has to be here for it, and Milan's here to provide, you know, stupid comic relief, of course.
Of course we will talk about the size of Godzilla's dick at some point in this episode.
Of
so we'll
course.
get to that at some point.
I'm like the sexually perverted snarf, or that, you know, that really annoying sidekick in those 80s type of commercialized American cartoons. You know, like in He-Man, that he would have the little annoying sidekick, and in Thundercats, I'm like that.
You're comparing yourself to Orko?
Indeed, I am the Orko of
I
the
see
Geeky
you as
Gentleman.
more of the Beastman, like Ian's Skeletor, or no, Ian's
Man.
Skeletor, I'm Beastman, and then you're like that chick who wears like the snakes. That's
Yay! I can
Wait, he's
finally.
the sorceress? I'm so confused. I haven't watched He-Man in like 10 years.
I've never seen He-Man, but I love Skeletor, so.
I remember everything about He-Man ever. I remember, like, stupid shit to like a frightening degree, but when it comes to maths, it's like I'm hopeless.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's go ahead
Never
and talk.
before has a sentiment been so agreed upon.
Let's go ahead and talk about the new Godzilla film.
Godzilla.
Gojira. Like, alright, so this movie, like I said, Bill's been building it up in my head for about the last year and a half
my own
or
head,
so.
dude, for 4 years.
Yeah, and this has got to be the movie. Like, you know me, I don't like to go into a movie like expecting with high expectations or whatever. I don't like to know what I'm going to get or anything like that. And Bill's been telling me it's going to be in this kind of tone and setting, and it's going to have all this cool stuff. I'm like, okay,
I was so sure of myself.
And it's just, there's so much to it, and I'm like, I'm surprised that I actually ended up enjoying the movie after how built up it was.
I'm surprised that I ended up enjoying it as much as I did when I had built, and I talked about this in my review, when I had built a frame-by-frame version of the movie that the trailers were advertising in my head, and the movie that we got is so fucking different than what I was expecting. I'm shocked that I still like it as much as I do. Because it is not the Godzilla movie that I thought we were going to get. I'm not even sure if it's the Godzilla movie that I wanted.
No, it's the Godzilla movie. It's the Godzilla movie we deserved, not the one.
Well, pretty much. That's almost exactly how I feel about it. It's not the Godzilla movie I wanted or the one that I even necessarily needed, but it's the one we deserve.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Well,
how about you?
See,
what are your general quick thoughts on it?
well, at first I was kind of ambivalent to the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, Godzilla. I'm like, it is a giant lizard destroying American cities. I should enjoy this, but I don't. I've seen like 1 or 2 Godzilla movies and I love them, but you know, my real interest came when I first saw the trailer. And I'm like watching this, and there's like commandos falling from the sky as like, you know, horrible nightmarish choir sings in the background, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then I see like this gigantic mountain move. I'm like, oh my god, it's a Cthulhu movie, and it's Godzilla. And I'm like, the first thing that popped into my head when I saw that damn trailer was, and there I saw it, a mountain that walked like a man. And I'm like, oh my god, this is so weirdly Lovecrafty, and I love it.
Well, it's got Del Toro behind the wheel, so that's not surprising at all.
Oh, definitely.
Isn't Del Toro attached to this?
No, not at all.
Oh, I thought he was. My bad.
No, he directed Pacific Rim and fought and has been and still fights for a crossover between Pacific Rim and Godzilla. So.
Oh, I could have sworn he was attached to this. Huh.
No, there was a rumor floating around a couple of years ago that Legendary, to save money, was gonna mix the two scripts of Pacific Rim with Godzilla. But that was completely wrong, and I have no idea why somebody would even think that was going to happen.
Because it's the internet, Bill.
It's true. I did a video about it, too, so it's still out there.
It's your fault, then.
But the Lovecraftian nature of it, I think, comes more from Edwards, who directed the film. And if you've seen the film the only film he's done before this with monsters, it's a very... Because when you listen to Lovecraft, like... because I haven't read it personally, I've listened to it. It's very much so the impact of these incredibly terrifying and outlandish creatures on people. And that's what Monsters is, and that's what I expected him to do with Godzilla, and he does it, but not in the way that I thought. And I suppose I should say my expectation. I thought we were going to get Gojira 2 with this. Because...
For me, one thing I was so surprised about, and actually I quite admire about the movie, speaking to expectations, is this movie does something in its marketing that more films need to do, in that the majority of shots from the trailers are in the first 30 minutes of the film. That's so fucking brilliant to me.
Yeah, they really...
I love that choice, and it's a little misdirecting, because when Bryan Cranston dies, you're like, huh?
Spoilers.
The bald man who does the drugs is dead. What is this happening? This is not good.
Ben Kingsley's dead.
Well, what happened was, I remember sitting in the theater first time through, and you get to the point where, I remember the exact shot where I had this thought, when Bryan Cranston or Joe Brody is sitting in the interrogation room, and the EMP blast goes out and knocks out all the lights, and the door opens, I just thought to myself, that's all the footage from the trailers. There's nothing else left. That motherfucker's gonna die. That's the exact thought I had. I turned to my friend Jack, who was a huge Bryan Cranston fan, and I said that, and he was like, "Why would you tell me that?" I'm just like, because I just noticed it, and you were the person sitting next to me, so you got inflicted with it. It was pretty. What is genius about this film's marketing is that the images that we saw and everything that we did or heard, everything about the trailer, is so vague that you can kind of interpret it however you want. And I think that was the problem I had going into it when I saw it the first time. Because, again, I made a version of it in my head, and then it's completely different from that. So I was so distracted by that I had kind of... Everything that they did that I didn't want them to do, I said, oh, I didn't want that, so it must be bad. And then I saw it again the next day, and I was like, no, what they do is may not be what you would have done with or what you wanted, but it's still good, and they do it really well.
Yeah, what I can tell, this is a big return to like the superhero Godzilla in a lot of ways. Of the, what is it, 60s, 70s?
70s, more so. It's interesting. Somebody, I don't know if you guys know who this person is, but Matt Frank, who is a big internet kind of Godzilla artist, and he now works on the current Godzilla comic series at IDW. He did a review of it a couple days ago, and it was a written review, and he said something that I completely agree with, and I think sums up the movie perfectly. Everybody thought they were getting something very close to the original Godzilla, a kind of dark, apocalyptic, end-of-the-world, unemotional destroyer version of Godzilla, and actually what we got was more of a really close sequel to Terror of Mechagodzilla, which, just to set that up, it's a very gritty movie, but it's interesting because it's one of the few dark Godzilla movies where Godzilla is not the thing that makes it dark. And they do superhero Godzilla, and that's very much so what this is.
And I actually like that because one of my biggest problems with all the Godzilla movies I've watched, all the ones you've recommended basically, is that his name's always in the fucking title, but he either doesn't show up till an hour in, or he does and he's the bad guy, or it's a very predictable thing where he comes in to, save the day from the other monster, and then he just turns on the military, and then they got to get rid of him, and I'm just like, no, that's so God, he's in the title. Just let him have this.
Well, that's always been the interesting thing, though, because the point of Godzilla has always been, and this is definitely in this version, too, despite it being closer to superhero Godzilla, is that he's the hero that he's a hero for Earth, basically, and he's fighting the villains who are destroying his home, and that fucked him up, which is us.
Not really home, but he kind of seemed like there was a bit of a talk about him being the alpha predator, and him there was more of an animalistic bent to this, how it's just kind of like, Godzilla is like kind of like, these two things kind of encroach, not exactly on his territory, but it's not really explained all that well, but it's but you get the basic gist of it, is that Godzilla is kind of one of those things like, I'm the only one that must live, is one of those predators. He's an alpha predator. If there's gonna be anyone like me, it's gonna be me. And
well, the idea as presented is that Godzilla is the top of a very ancient food chain. And he is the top, or his species was the top of this food chain, and the other creatures in the movie, called the Mutos, or Mutos in the movie, I'm going to call them Mutos because that sounds better.
Sounds like Pokemon.
Were his prey in this food chain. And the idea is that when Serizawa says he is nature's balance, the idea is that he fulfills the function of any successful predator. You keep all your prey in check. Everything that exists in the ecosystem is functioning in the ecosystem because you exist at the top to keep everything in control.
Definitely.
My biggest problem with the movie in terms of that is the way in which they explain it is said in kind of this very romanticized kind of way of like, this is a man's interpretation of nature. And that's how it's presented, and that's how you should take it. But the movie presents it in a way where it's like, no, that's the actual scientific explanation, when that's not really what's going on. Because Serizawa goes like, okay, so I believe that nature has a balance and a power to restore that balance, and I believe Godzilla is that power. What you gotta realize is that this is a man's, again, very romantic view of an animal and inflicting his beliefs onto the behavior of an animal.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't really help it if you see a thing that huge and that godlike, you can't very well help but try to even unconsciously try to romanticize it. It's just human nature. We see something. Even if they wanted to be as objective and scientific as they possibly could, I mean, this thing is literally doing what the things in the fairy tales do. These horrible, gigantic, godlike entities fighting, and we're just ants below them. Like, you can't help but see it as a sort of divine being.
Right. Well, and that's what they say, is that, and I like what Professor Graham says, his female assistant, Better, where she goes, he's a god, for all intents and purposes. Meaning he's not actually a god, but by definition of what a god is, he fits the bill pretty well. And I thought that was a really nice touch. And let me just say this, and then I'll let you guys kind of get into it even more so, is that what I like very much so about this version of Godzilla, and why I'm totally cool now with him being what he became, is because they use aspects of Godzilla's previously established mythos, for the most part, to make the changes that they make. So the idea of him being a force of nature and a warrior for nature, that was kind of always the underhinting idea, but they just took a different take with it. Instead of him using that and going against humanity and being the destroyer, it explains his behavior in this film, why he ends up, in a way, saving the day. There's a reason why that question mark is at the end of that sentence at the end of the film.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's what I really like about the movie, or like about this version of Godzilla.
Yeah, I just like that. One sec, let me just get this out. I just like that Godzilla gets to be in a movie and the whole movie isn't about stopping Godzilla. I just really enjoy that thing.
Let them fight. Let them fight.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I just there are elements of stopping Godzilla, but it's also about stopping, the bad guy, quote unquote. And that's something I enjoy. I enjoy watching a movie where the title character is someone I can root for.
And that was very much so in its design, and why they went the way they went was because they wanted you to root for Godzilla, and they absolutely succeeded. I don't know what your two experiences, theater experiences was like, but mine was, first two times through, everybody cheered at the appropriate time. Godzilla's first appearance, everybody cheered. When Godzilla used his atomic breath for the first time, everybody cheered.
Oh, that was so...
Everyone came in my movie theater. It was amazing.
And especially the way they shoot it. God damn, can Gareth Edwards shoot a monster movie.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
And I really appreciated it today because I got to sit there by myself, undistracted, and watch it happen. The way they build up to that atomic blast is incredible. So the female Muto is about to kill Ford, and fucking all of a sudden this blinding blue light hits his face, and you're just like, what the fuck is that? Then all of a sudden you see the tail come up, and the beam starts to go up his dorsal spines. Oh, it was so fucking cool. And it's blue just like it should be. Oh, it was perfect.
Yeah. Basically, I love this. Like, I'm surprised how much I love this film. And, like, the Mutos as well, like, they're not the bad guys. I kind of like the Mutos as animal creatures. You know, I'm going to talk about Movie Bob's review later on, but basically, I love the fact that they're animals, and you kind of get, you know, they're not vicious or angry. They're not evil monsters. They're just animals looking for a habitat. And if you have animals of that insane size, of course they're going to destroy buildings, not because, you know, they're malevolent, or just because, you know, oh, it's a big tree thing. I can just roost there. And like the few little moments that, you know, when you see them together, and like the little Muto is actually the male and the big one is the female. That's kind of cute, and they're like kind of touching.
That was great biology right there.
Totally. And they're like kind of.
They're very insect-like.
Yeah.
And they're very cute.
The female was bigger than the male, and the male had a
male.
male.
Yeah,
that was all really well done. Also, I agree. That moment when the two Mutos rub their heads up against each other, you don't really sympathize with them because just the way they're personified. I guess you kind of do to a degree.
It's anthropomorphified. It makes them a little bit more human.
It makes them more complex, though, because it's just that's when you realize these are not monsters per se. They're animals trying to do what we do anyway, trying to ensure their own survival. It just happens that their survival means our destruction.
Of course.
And it means that Godzilla's ecosystem that he rules over gets fucked up. So that's where everybody has their conflict. And that's what I really enjoyed about it as a monster movie.
Definitely.
One problem I guess I had with the whole ecosystem thing is Godzilla kills both of them.
Right.
But he doesn't eat them.
Yeah, that's my problem too. Well, it's not even that he doesn't eat them. The problem is they don't give an explanation for why. And I have two. One of them being they say he only feeds on radiation, but then Dylan and I's question was why the fuck does he even have a mouth then? But that doesn't seem as likely. I imagine he's got to eat stuff down there that's not just radiation. The other theory is that he's doing it more out of territory and out of instinct and out of a need to feed.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
Right, because he hears them clicking around and he just goes, oh, this ancient instinct in me kicks in that I have to kill that thing because it's my ancient enemy.
Yeah.
Which that made a lot more sense to me then. He's hunting. He is going to eat it.
Yeah.
I'm
Which,
like,
I mean, it would be fucking...
you sure calm the fuck down, man. You're really putting a harsh on my buzz, man.
Dude, I'm just saying, it would have been fucking cool as shit to see Godzilla fucking eat a goddamn giant wasp. Just in the middle of destroyed San Francisco.
Well, we did see him rip the goddamn thing's head off and breathe atomic breath.
That was bad.
Which is the coolest scene in cinema now, forever.
Oh my god,
I don't care what else follows or what came before. That is the most badass thing ever.
Oh, that is a really kick-ass finishing move.
That is.
Overkill, because it's like, alright, yeah, she's dead, but just fuck you. You guys dropped a building on me. Just fuck you.
Yeah, it's just Godzilla saying, no, fuck you, bitch. You be the submissive now. But like, I'm gonna talk about Movie Bob's review. See, when I came back from watching the movie, I was filled with such fucking joy. Like, genuine fucking... You know the type of joy you feel when you were a little kid? And you're just, you see in a really good movie, like, on the big screen, and you walk home and you're just filled with the joy, the pure, it's just indescribably pure joy. And I went home, I'm like, I love this movie. And I'm like, I thought to myself, I should see Movie Bob's review. And a part of me said, don't watch that motherfucker's review, man. Don't watch it. He's gonna shit all over it. And I'm like, nah, this is an awesome movie. And he's like, oh yeah, it's alright. I'm like, in his main problems, I'm going to address his criticism with the problem. He said it should have been more... He hated the human characters, like the soldier and his wife. He found them boring. And it should have been just, you know, the Asian man obsessing over his insane crush over a giant lizard. And I completely disagree. I found the human characters to be the main thing that made me care most about this film. Like, I can't exactly... Like, my memory is awful, but... the young captain. Is he a captain? Anyway, no, he's a bomb...
Ford.
Bomb... Cord.
Ford
The
Brody.
bomb...
Yeah, Ford.
Ford. That's right. Yeah, Ford Brody. Like, the bomb disposal individual. And, like, I found his relationship with him and his wife to be just adorable. And I found the guy just extraordinarily brave. And not in that superhero kind of action movie way. Just, like... He knows he's gonna fucking die. He knows, like, holy shit, these are fucking gods above me tearing up the shit. And like, he's a little ant trying to make a difference. And
Right.
And his whole, like, you know, Movie Bob's complaint is, they're just so happen to be going to the same place. And he points out all these fucking coincidences that I'm like, have you ever seen a Godzilla movie? Those, like, or a monster movie in general. This is called drama. This is called fucking movie making. And I just got so fucking mad at Movie Bob. I'm like, nigga, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Oh, jeez.
Like,
for me, speaking of the human characters,
oh my god.
like, I heard the criticism that they are a little bit flat, and I guess I can see where that's coming from, but I think that's for two reasons. One, this movie is very militaristically efficient in its use of dialogue and just any kind of exposition.
Yeah.
And two, the characters are kind of meant to be not shallow, but not very deep, so that you can put yourself into them more easily, I think.
That's what Ford is designed to be. And more than that, everyone's saying, oh, Aaron Taylor Johnson can't act for a minute, and he sucks, and he's unemotive. I really don't agree. I find him to be so sufficiently... He plays the everyman so well.
Yeah, he does shell-shocked very well. I mean, like, it's not that it's not that he's, like, in responsive, because I've had a few family members who've been to war. I'm like, once you experience something half that size, I'm like, fuck you, man. You're gonna be fucking shell-shocked. You don't know how to fucking deal with that shit.
Right, and he has a moment like that. I was talking to a friend of mine, I don't remember who it was for the life of me. Somebody mentioned that, there should have been a moment where he actually laments everything going on and just breaks down. You don't get a clear-cut moment like that, but when he's on the train in the Honolulu scene going to get on his flight to San Francisco, there's this moment where he just buries his head in his hands, and I was like, that's the moment. It's not emphasized, but it's there. Because it's quiet, he's by himself, his dad just died, he just found out there are fucking prehistoric monsters in this world powered by radiation. And I think that was the beginning of a moment where he was like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. And now my family's threatened by all this shit? And then, of course, the kid comes in and he has to worry about solving that problem, but I found him incredibly likable, incredibly empathetic. And the moment that I keep saying sells me on him, I don't know why, just this very nice moment that I like where this is right after the Japanese boy gets separated from his family, and he sits the kid down and he gives him the toy soldier and he says he's going to bring him back to his parents, and he just goes, I better not miss my flight, kid. And he smiles, and I'm just like, that moment sells me on this character, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it does.
And I mean, like, the characters, like, you can either love them or leave them, honestly. They're important to the story, but they're not the central focus. And I think a lot of that comes from just how quiet this movie is a lot of the times.
Yeah.
For a monster movie where you got to try to explain everything to make it make sense, there's shockingly little dialogue in this. And I think part of that comes from how much of the movie is focused on the military.
Yeah.
And all the dialogue that you do get is efficient, and it's very, like, military briefing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's about all you get. And, like, the scene that I think works the best is when Serizawa gives the general the pocket watch.
Oh, God, I love that scene.
Yeah. He gives it to him. He's like, there's got to be a better way. And he's like, here. And he goes, this is the only way we have, basically. And he hands him the pocket watch. He's like, it stopped. And he goes, look at the time. And he reads out the time and he says, that was my grandfather's from blah 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 date. I always feel bad. I can never remember Hiroshima's date.
August 6th, 8:15 in the morning.
There we go. Thank you. You've seen the movie like 17,000 times.
It's been 4 times, and I'm also a Godzilla fan, so I know all this nuclear shit because it's part of the wider tapestry of the history.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I love that moment because it's just, he doesn't give this whole rousing speech about why it's wrong to drop the bomb or put the bomb in San Francisco. He's just like, you're repeating history and you're going to regret it kind of moment.
Yeah,
so
and I love the fact that this movie really incorporates the whole show don't tell aspect. You know,
oh
and it's,
God, yes. I agree.
and it's so good. Like, I love this movie so much, and it just, like, movie Bob talking about how it's so good, but not like. It's not. I just can't understand that motherfucker sometimes. Like, I love the guy. I love him as a critic, and he's really intelligent. But I'm like, sometimes he just says the dumbest of shit, and I'm like, I get so mad at him. And that's just like, I mean, like, I really like the soldier character. And yes, of course, you know, people say he doesn't act very well. And at first, I thought he was a little bit flat. Actually, during the cinema, I kind of thought that the child playing him in the beginning scene had more expression than you know, the character than oh God, I forgot his name again.
Aaron Taylor
Ford.
Taylor Johnson. Like, but he had more expression. Like his child actor. But then I understood it. At first I thought he was a little bit flat, but then I understood what he was doing. This is a militarily trained individual. And most people like that don't fucking go around making great speeches. You know, they're very fucking reserved. I have a few of my fucking family members are like that. They're like, they don't fucking talk, they just do. And
the whole movie has that mentality too of like, we're going to tell as much of the story visually as possible.
Exactly, and that's why I love this film so much.
And that really helps because, like, I think the more visual, less dialogue-driven aspect of this movie really helps it, because I can't think of all the Godzilla movies and monster movies in general that I've seen, most of the time the people are constantly talking and commenting on what's going on.
Yeah, they always feel the need to explain every move Godzilla makes, and this movie is just like, it's unnecessary.
Bill, please. Let me get it out. I think that really helps, that the fact that Godzilla doesn't have a voice makes him very equal to a lot of the other characters in this movie, because it just feels like he has as much screen time as Serizawa, basically. It feels like he's around and he's just as important as everyone else, and not just as a plot device, but an actual character, because he doesn't have dialogue like a lot of other people don't really have much dialogue. I think that really helps it.
Definitely.
Also, he likes to take naps, and that's definitely a core part of his character.
Definitely.
What I think really sold me on Godzilla in this movie is the incredible facial animation. I mean, he just looks amazing, and the detail on his face. My favorite shot in the whole movie is after he's killed the male Muto by impaling it on a fucking building with his tail, which is, again, one of the most badass scenes in cinema. And he falls down, and Ford is like limping towards the bay after blowing up the Muto nest, and being saved by Godzilla. And Godzilla falls down, and Ford just turns around not knowing what to expect, and there's Godzilla just looking at him. And you just get to see, really for the first time in the movie, how fucking old Godzilla is.
Yeah.
He looks ancient, and he's got this, he's got a scar on his face that runs down from the top of his snout to the bottom of his mouth, and it, like, pushes up. He's got battle scars and stuff, and you also just get to see that he doesn't really... He just looks so tired, and he looks like, why am I even doing this? And just the look on his face just really tells a million stories about what this thing is thinking, about what it's thinking, and it's a very expressive face, and I really fell in love with this version of Godzilla via that shot.
Definitely. And the thing is, it has that kind of animalistic feel to it. It's an animal, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's an animal, and I like the fact, like in most Godzilla movies, it's just, you don't get that a lot. It's like, oh, it's a man in a rubber suit. But this, like, it balances the animalistic side of the creature with the more, like, this thing's been around for like 1,000 billion years, and it has the brain the size of a whale, for fuck's sake. So it's got to have some sort of sentience.
Right.
And yeah.
And
So
one thing I
like
thought
that.
lended itself really well to making this Godzilla feel more like a real creature was the way he swam. I really liked that. He swims like a crocodile.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
that
this
scene,
I love that
that
shot
That
of,
scene where all the boats like follow him. That's
so cool.
Yeah.
the most
That's
Michael.
such a good shot. Like,
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
I want that as like a repeating desktop background.
Yeah. And he just sways his hips back and forth like a crocodile does. And I thought that this whole Godzilla design looked very crocodilian, which I was more than okay with.
And he's a beefy motherfucker. He is
a little chunky, especially
I love
in the
that.
gut.
I love that.
I sympathize with him in that way. He's been down.
That's
hey
why
man,
Phil likes
listen.
Godzilla
He's been
so
down
much.
there in the depths for a long time. He's under a lot of pressure. You know what? He let himself go a little bit. He's been eating a lot of Snicker bars lately. It's just he let himself go a little
That's
bit.
why
It's
Bill
no
likes
problem.
Godzilla so much. He's like the only chunky superhero there is.
Godzilla?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. He's the only fat superhero where it kind of makes sense. Which, just to make it clear, most crocodiles are fat in the stomach too. It's just what they do.
Yeah. I like that this one looks more like a crocodile than like a T-Rex or something.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, they're gigantic crocodiles that like T-Rexes were afraid of and shit.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
He really.
And it makes more sense with the, you know, aquatic side of things.
Oh, definitely. And I love
than the T-Rex design.
And I like how his arms work, because it's kind of weird, because the whole Godzilla design comes from that time where people thought how the dinosaurs walked like kangaroos instead of like they were more forward bending, and so that's where you get the Godzilla design. He's more of, the original puppets looked like essentially giant lizard kangaroos, but I like the fact that he still can stand.
Giant lizard kangaroos.
I know, we have them here in Australia. They're a big problem.
They're
like
horrifying.
giant. They're basically our giant version of raccoons that eat human flesh. And
Wouldn't
anyway,
a giant kangaroo lizard be basically a velociraptor?
essentially
Yes,
yes. Essentially, yeah. We have velociraptor-like bunny creatures here in Australia.
Bunny creatures.
You know,
Okay. All right.
They breed like rabbits.
exactly. But essentially,
Everything in Australia wants to murder you.
exactly. Even the tiniest of little creature spiders, that have the human face, always want to kill you. Anyway,
I saw this meme on Facebook that said there are no volcanoes in Australia, meaning that's the only thing meaning it's the only thing in Australia that's not trying to kill you. I thought that was funny.
Oh, definitely. But the reason I like him, because like the skeletal, the body design of Godzilla, it works because it works. Also, it still pays respect to that kind of a standing up version of Godzilla in the old movies. But also, you can see him bend down and walk more, dinosaur-like and crocodile-like. And another thing about the main characters is that I really like them. The majority why I don't really, I haven't seen a lot of Godzilla movies, but the ones I have seen I liked, but there's always this whole idea, like you mentioned before, everyone's talking too much, and there's not really, it's always like, we're gonna have an insane amount of exposition, we're gonna fill up an hour, of bullshit before the main attraction gets here. I hate to say that. Exactly, but, with here, it's just like you understand the threat, and Movie Bob talks about, you have to Americanize everything. You gotta have, I don't understand. What the fuck did he, it should have been all with the, with the Asian scientist. I'm terrible
Ken Watanabe is Dr. Sarazawa.
Yeah, I like
I would have
him,
liked to see more of him, but...
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, the human element. That's why I always found the basic idea of Godzilla kind of distasteful. It's always like, he's walking around destroying things, and billions of people are dying, and it's like, dun 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 dun, superhero Godzilla, And then here we get to see that, like, Godzilla does kill essentially a lot of people by his presence alone, but, you know, because he's a giant fucking lizard. But you see the people. I love it when you see monster movies seen from the ground up. Yeah. When you have people, you know...
Some of the shots were really good.
Exactly,
like that.
yeah. And you have, you know, the whole emotional connection. Like, I felt like, oh my god, when you see the people fleeing and just people terrified in the tsunami, and it's just like, holy shit, that's awful. And it's really real world, and you kind of... It doesn't exactly turn into Godzilla the superhero. Everyone's kind of like, you know, clap. At the very end, you hear like a brief little clap, like, yay, Godzilla's alive.
That I did not like.
No, not at all. But
I actually love that.
I kind of liked it. I kind of like that because, you know, say what you will, like, you know, not like everyone's going to be cheering going, yay, Godzilla. I'm like, that motherfucker destroyed our city. But, you know, at least he killed those big things that were going to breed, and hopefully he's now,
but everybody knows that, so that's my problem with it. It's just like the public seems to know as much as we do, even though they wouldn't, just based on...
Well, like,
not really. Not really.
The thing. You see that one of them has clearly... No, wait, you see that two of them have clearly caused more damage than Godzilla has on his own. So that's why they're cheering, is because Godzilla, you know... And I think they might also be cheering that he is clearly leaving.
Right, that's true too. And it's weird, it's kind of an interesting, bizarre tribute to the original, because that happens in the original too. There's this shot where Godzilla's going back to the ocean, there's jets firing at him. And there's just a bunch of Japanese people who are just covered in blood, like on the shoreline, just like fucking... They're not cheering, but they're more just like, get him, get out of here, get out of here. And it's this really interesting shot, and that almost pays like tribute to that, but in the reverse way. It's weird.
Fair enough.
But I just realized when you said that.
No, it's just I like that. I like that Godzilla gets to be the good guy. I mean, that is my number one biggest positive about this film. Godzilla finally gets to be the hero of his own fucking movie. And essentially that hasn't happened, from what I can tell at least, since the 70s. And that's, you know, thank you. Thank you for making the title character the most the most fun character to watch and support. You know, I want to cheer for Godzilla. Godzilla shows up and you want it to be a good thing. You know, you go to see a Godzilla movie. Why? Do you want to see this monster destroy the whole planet? That's, you know, no. I want to see Godzilla kick some ass.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what I came there for.
I don't know. I don't want to see Godzilla just be the bad guy.
He's not though, dude. There's more to it than that.
No, but I know I'm being overly simplistic, but still, I don't like to see the title character be, you know, an anti-hero and be defeated by characters that, frankly, I don't really like that much.
He never really gets defeated, though.
Well, he
usually walks away pretty okay.
I don't know, GMK, he gets blown the fuck up.
He's more of the bad guy in that movie, though, than anybody else. Well, he does survive the movie, though. You see his heart beating at the end. But anyway, I get your point, and I agree. That's something I liked on the second and third viewing more and more, was that I just liked that I saw a Godzilla movie on an American movie screen where everybody was cheering at the appropriate time. That just did my heart so good. Again, especially with the atomic breath, that really just fucking... Because I forgot... Here's the thing. They were doing it... They just got it so right that I actually forgot that they were doing the atomic breath, because everything else was perfect. So it's just like, oh, I don't care about anything else. And then it was almost like an additional surprise that they included that, because it's like, oh, Godzilla's kicking the thing's asses, and he's being awesome and shit. And then it came in, and I was like, holy shit, that's the atomic breath.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, that's awesome. They did it in an interesting way, too, because they did a strange amalgam of different ways they've done the breath before, because they've always done it as they've either made it look misty, they've made it look like just a straight up beam, and then other times it just looks like fire, and they did kind of a cross between all of those things in this version.
Yeah. I also like how much how the military isn't fetishized. you would expect, like, you see, all the military is so great. It's not a Michael Bay movie, and it's the military acting like an actual military would react in such a situation.
Right.
It's not like you see like the American flag and you see a shirtless, a blonde, blue-eyed American just with blood on his chest, holding the head of a dead Nazi with a national anthem fucking playing in the background.
Okay.
And it's just like okay, but it's like it's a good fucking portrayal of the military. It's a realistic portrayal of the military.
Yeah.
And not romanticized at all. And that's what I like about it. It's a weird thing that this movie manages to pull off. It's kind of romanticized in a way, but at the same time it's really fucking realistic. It gives you enough romantic feeling, but it still keeps you grounded. It's like it's that weird mix of that I really like.
It's what I think really works about it is they just treat it so realistically that you don't need real bad guys to come in and create drama, because the situation itself is just so dramatic inherently with the aftermath and how everybody would respond that, yeah, the Mutos are technically the bad guy, but as we said earlier, they have moments where you kind of sympathize with what they're trying to do because all they're trying to do is survive. And because of that, a lot of times in a movie like this, and I'm not just talking about Godzilla, I'm talking about big action movies in general, there always has to be a human asshole who comes in and just has to be the dick and just provoke everybody and just be the asshole who we all hate. There's no character like that in the movie.
That's really good. Yeah.
Like Admiral Stans, he doesn't want to drop the bomb any more than Serizawa does. He just doesn't see another way to do it. And especially on this viewing, they're talking about the bomb plan, and I was like, honestly, if I were in his shoes, it's not a bad plan. And just not knowing that the bomb won't kill them. I mean,
well, like they were saying that the effect of the blast would kill him, which, I mean, I guess there's some merit to that. Just to bring some actual science into the movie about giant radiation-eating dinosaurs.
Right, I mean, the only reason they would know it wouldn't work is because they tried it already and it didn't work then, but...
No, they say that this bomb would make that look like a firecracker. The biggest atomic bomb ever actually dropped was the Russian Tsar bomb, which was 50 megatons. Yeah, 50 megatons, which is the equivalent of 50 million tons of TNT exploding all at one time.
Right.
And it turned solid rock into ash.
Right.
So the premise is the radiation might, they might be able to feed off of the radiation, sure, but the force of the blast would just completely vaporize them.
Well, right, what makes it work so well is that the radiation lures them there. So they've got to lure without having to use anything else. That's what makes the plan work so well for me. And again, it's the only thing that doesn't work about it is it just wouldn't work because just based on the idea of... and what also really works about it is it goes wrong in a completely natural way. Again, nobody has to be a dick or nothing is forced. It just goes wrong in a natural way. Like we can't, and the whole point of the movie is we can't control nature, and we have to let nature take its course. That's why ultimately it has to be Godzilla who kills the Mutos, because that's just the way nature works.
Let them fight. I love that. I'm just gonna keep saying that out of context for everything
it's an
forever.
Line, and it's something right out of a classic Godzilla movie, which I thought was cool. And I just like that everything just naturally goes wrong, and that was something I liked. Again, there's no clear-cut villain, and I thought that made it more realistic and more interesting.
Yeah. One thing I really did like was that, since we were talking about the military actually acting like a real military, I like that there's a fucking evacuation of the city.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, we gotta hide this from the people. Like, guys, come on, just evacuate a city for once in a movie. And they actually did it, and there are only, like, a couple people left. Now, the really weird thing was there's that shot of the Muto flying by one of the windows, and there are people
in working. Nobody gets the memo? There are giant monsters coming? It's all over the fucking news.
That's one of the points. That's one of my complaints. That's more nitpicky, but my other complaint that I think it's only fair to get into, because so far we've been really positive toward this movie. Does anyone else feel like we got cheated out of the first fight?
Oh, God, yeah. That's not my biggest problem with the movie. My problem is more wide sweeping than that, but I absolutely agree, especially this viewing. Because I saw it again today, and they do something kind of clever with it because I get it. This movie did not have Avengers level budget, and how good Godzilla looks. I understand that maybe some screen time had to be sacrificed, but my thing is it's such a nice build up to it. That
it's such
like,
a cool reveal when you get that.
Shit's about to go down, motherfuckers. There was a tsunami, and Godzilla came out of it, and the Muto's attacking an airport. It's just so well set up, and Godzilla's first shot is so incredible. And then you see it on the news. It is a little disappointing, and you have to wait a while to see Godzilla again, and especially seeing him fight the Mutos.
Yeah, it's just like, it's a very disappointing thing, because I love, that you see that shot of all the airplanes exploding, you're like, oh my god, what's going to happen? And then you just see the foot, and you're like, fuck yeah!
And everybody goes quiet. That's what I like about it, because we haven't seen
the camera starts to pan up on him, and you see the full shot of Godzilla, and he even twists his neck a little bit, like, all right, let's get frosty, and then all of a sudden, cut. I'm like, wait, what's happening?
And I like the jokes, but it would have been funnier if it wouldn't have been all we got. Like, if they would have cut back to the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
honestly, if you just cut back to it and just see that, he can't... Because, honestly, what's interesting is they kind of seed it almost. Because in the main fight in San Francisco, one of the biggest problems he has is he's having so much trouble ripping that damn thing out of the air. Right? What if you just have, the beginnings of the fight and he's just doing everything he can to try to grab it, but then it just flies away, and that's what you need to see, or just see the end of the fight with him trying to grab it and not succeeding, and then just the thing flying away.
Right.
That's all you need. You just need a little bit more of the fight with them actually there as opposed to just on the TV.
Right.
And it would have felt just as satisfying without, giving away too much about Godzilla's moves or whatever. I don't know.
It just feels awkward, honestly. Because again, the build-up is so powerful that once you get there and it's about to happen and you just cut away, it just kind of feels like it just feels like
blue balls.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely the best way to describe it. It's just you just feel like you've been cheated out of a really cool scene, and I get why Gareth Edwards did it, and it works to a certain extent. He wants to tease you to the utmost degree, so every time Godzilla is on frame and fighting, it is just always special. Every frame is just there's a smile on your face.
Oh yeah,
but
I love that.
I feel like to a degree, there's only so much teasing you can do to a point where you frustrate the audience too much.
Yeah.
And here I think is something I just rewatched Jaws recently. And
again?
There's something I thought of, because again, a lot of people are there's a lot of Spielbergian influence going on with this Godzilla movie, and that's absolutely going on. And I feel like that was definitely a good way to go with it, and I feel like, again, it works for the most part. Here's an issue, though, that I don't think anybody's brought up. There's a difference between the shark in Jaws and Godzilla. Godzilla's got a personality.
Yeah.
And Godzilla is also... There's more to Godzilla than the shark in Jaws. And he's supposed to be more than the shark in Jaws. He's supposed to be a character. The shark in Jaws is a death machine. The only purpose it serves is to kill. There's more to Godzilla than that. And you can't treat it the same way. And that's why I really hope, and I should get into this now because it fits with that. The shark in Jaws doesn't really necessarily have to drive this. I mean, it does drive the story, but it doesn't have to always be doing stuff to drive the story. The characters in Jaws are interesting enough, and the situation is treated in a way where that's all you need to get through the story. But with Godzilla, it's just Godzilla is a character. So, as a character, he should have more to do in the story. And that is my biggest problem with the movie. Godzilla just does not have enough narrative weight.
I have to see it again, because I don't know if I agree with you or disagree. I see where you're coming from, though. Milan, you were trying to say something a couple minutes ago, but Bill's still in rant mode about this movie, which is surprising since he's done 12 reviews.
I've done 2.
Okay.
But
I don't really get what you guys are talking about. Like, I didn't really get that whole, cock tease. I didn't get what I wanted. I was focusing more on the people. I was more fucking awestruck by the tsunami. I'm like, oh my god. And I guess I understand where you guys are coming from. Like, I want to see giant monsters fighting. And I do get that. But, like, I didn't feel cock tease at all. Like, that's the thing. I never feel bored. Like, when I'm really engaged into a movie, time just flies. And, like, when I'm watching a boring movie, like, I just like, oh yeah, I'm just slogging through it. But when I'm fully engaged into something, no matter, like, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours might pass, and, like, if it's shot well, I don't perceive time. It's just, I'm just watching. Like, I had that with The Dark Knight Rises. When I first watched that in cinemas, I didn't feel bored. I was so engaged in the movie that when it was done, I felt completely and utterly fulfilled. And the same thing with this movie. I didn't say like, oh god, when is the monster gonna show up? I was so engaged by everything. It's
not a matter of not being engaged. It's that you're finally getting the thing that you're waiting for the entire movie.
Right.
That's a bad way to put it.
No,
you're finally getting to see the title character on screen, like for the first time, really on screen, not just like a quick shot of his back or anything like that. You're really getting to see it. And it's doing something cool, and there's so much build up to it just before that moment, and then it's just like, well, nope. And you're like, it's like, tricked you, bitch. I'm like,
well, it just feels like then you don't trust the movie at all. And it's hard to enjoy a movie you don't trust, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because, like, especially when Godzilla's roaring or when the second fight's starting and those doors shut, you're like, are they going to do it again?
Well,
like, it really, for a second there, it makes you... At that point, you're really like, are they seriously going to, like, not show us much of the fight now? Because, like, it's a while before we really start getting good looks at the fight, because a lot of it starts getting, like, covered in all this, like, dust and debris and stuff. Right. And, like, are they really, like, do they not have a very good budget for this? Are they not able to show the fight?
No.
Like, you really start to question it.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of it was, again, it didn't have fucking Avengers budget, but the thing was, more so, that was what
I disagree. Like, the thing is, it's not that, that's weird. Like, I saw this more as a disaster movie with giant monsters in it, and like, you got enough of the fights. Like, let's all be general. Like, let's all be truthful and say the fights that we did get, made the boo balls go away rather quickly. But I gotta say, like, holy shit, when you are in that situation, when you're the little guy looking up at these two giant things, you're not gonna see everything. You're just gonna see buildings falling and fucking debris everywhere, and it's
right.
Yeah,
but once
I suppose
you jump,
so.
This is kind of a double-edged sword. Once you jump away from the perspective of the people, you don't really want to go back. And I think that means two things. One, that's what makes it so disappointing when you don't get to see the fight between Godzilla and the male Muto. But here's the other thing. Gareth Edwards was also very smart by keeping it that long, because once you see even the seeds of that fight, you really don't want to go back to the people. So the more story he gets in with the people, the longer he can draw it out, then he can let you indulge in the monster fights. Here's the thing. This movie is very reminiscent of another giant monster movie reboot that came out in the 90s. It's called Gamera Guardian of the Universe. It really reminded me of that in more ways than just it's a reboot of Godzilla. Godzilla's characterization is also very similar to Gamera in that movie, with him being the balance to an evil force. But the thing is, it takes a long time to see Gamera in that movie too. And they also do a very similar thing of they build him up a lot, they have him pop up on radar, and then he destroys a helicopter, comes up out of the water. But the thing is, you see a fight right after that. And there's a while before you see another fight, but even still, it just lets you simmer for a little bit. And it didn't have to be long, you just have to show a little bit more than the one shot they give. I'm not asking for a lot more, just a little more. And then I think the movie would almost be flawless in what it's trying to do.
It feels like, I'm trying to find the best way to put it, because I feel like I'm coming on more negative than I mean to.
Likewise.
It lets you down a little bit, because it builds up the fight, and then you don't get to see any of it. I'd be okay with getting to see, you know, just a little bit, and yes, we get to see some of it, but it's one shot, and it's tiny on a TV,
Right.
and they put a bunch of news logos on it, and, you know, basically all I can see is Godzilla, like, kind of climbing after the thing. I'm like, well, that doesn't count.
Right.
You
You
know,
know what I really liked about that, though?
What?
The fucking ticker tape below it on the news broadcast. The way it's worded, it almost seems like they're just going, "Holy shit, are you seeing this?" Because it's so just like unbelievable. They just so don't believe what they're seeing. It's just they really should just write, "Holy fuck, just look at your fucking TV." Because we can't describe it, so just look at it because it's incredible.
Oh, yeah,
That's how
yeah.
I felt about it.
Oh, definitely. But that's the thing. One more thing about the characters, the human characters.
Yeah.
The few Godzilla movies I have seen, I felt bored with the human characters because, like,
I agree.
It's not like not all of them, but it's just like. It's like they were just trying to buy time for when Godzilla would come up. I never had this not even for a second with this movie. I was engaged with all the characters. I'm like, even like when Godzilla wasn't there, I was genuinely afraid for the bomb disposal individuals. I keep forgetting his name. God damn it. Ford's. I'm terrible with names. I'm a faces guy. Like I know what I'm talking about.
Speaking of faces. For like 2 seconds, I'm like, holy shit, is that like Mary-Kate Olsen? And I'm like, no, it's actually her sister. That's not one of the twins. I'm like, huh.
Anyway, before I forget, you know,
slightly distracting. I thought it was funny that she was in San Francisco, so technically.
Oh my god, that's so true.
If you want to see more of this universe, you have to watch Full House.
Right. They should. I mean, to me, as a kid who grew up on that show, it would have been fun if they would have been like, "Oh, there's the Full House destroyed."
Oh, grew up on that show, dude. You're fucking 17. God.
What?
Dude.
I'm 19 actually.
Oh, you're a child in my eyes. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, I'm sorry.
21.
I'm sorry, Mister. Yeah, Superman is everything to me, and he's amazing. I'm sorry. I'll back
Shut up! He is amazing, and he is everything to me, Dick. Jeez. Anyway.
There's a boring moment in this movie for me. That's what I really took from it. Just the whole movie is just such a well-honed machine. And just
yeah. I agree completely.
To me, the first, what would it be? I guess like the first 5 minutes of this movie, I'm just my mouth was just agape at how giddy I was.
I love
the
the
credits are fucking awesome.
The opening credits, like, I love seeing all the names get blacked out. And
Yeah.
just, like, all the, like, they really did a good job on dirtying up their CG to make it look like it was actually filmed in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
I loved. The opening credits were great. I loved the scene with Serizawa in the fucking ribs of the giant monster and stuff. And it was just so cool when you saw the tail drag thing. You're like, wait, so they're going with like a young Godzilla in this, or what am I missing here?
Yeah.
And people keep comparing the Muto's I guess plot, whatever, their whole baby thing with 98 movie. Well, this handles it much better because it doesn't rip off of Jurassic Park like that.
I only thought of that today, but it's so true. I was like, we have another Godzilla movie dealing with eggs. Wow.
It's not a bad plot point, in all honesty.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny because I was like, well, it's bizarre because there's a couple of weird coincidences of this connecting back to the '98 movie. The opening credits are very similar because that movie also opens with like grainy footage of atomic bomb testing.
Mm-hmm.
And it also opens, and the other thing is, the movie opens in 1999. Come on.
Yeah, it's 98.
That is fucking funny.
Yeah. But I really do love it when fucking CGI, like high quality CGI, is made to look like it's shot on Shitio. I love when you have like the really amazing CGI made to look like it's shot on Super 8, because it gives that CGI even more like, it makes it look even more realistic, because it's like your mind says like, oh.
Honestly, that's actually one of the big problems. Speaking from a CG perspective, that's one of the big problems with making CG is actually a lot of your stuff looks too good.
Yeah.
Because just film, no matter how good your camera is, if you're filming something, there's going to be a bit of grain or dust you know, you can't have a perfectly clean lens every time. There's going to be a little bit of grain or dust or just some kind of, you know, like static quality to the and by static I mean literal static, not paused or motionless.
Right.
There's going to be a bit of a static quality to your video, even no matter how high def your thing is.
Right.
So when you make CG, though, there's none of that. There's no dust, there's no static, there's nothing. You have to put it back in after the fact, and that's actually... So what really happens, and you'll see this a lot on, like, you know, even Sci-Fi Channel, where the CG model is actually pretty good, the texture is actually pretty good, but they didn't take any time to integrate it properly, so it looks superimposed.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do that.
Yeah,
I thought this
exactly,
movie
and that's why.
So good at integrating the CG into the real environment.
Oh yeah. The thing, if you want something to look really good and really like something outlandishly fantastic to look good on screen, make it fucking dirty. Just make it just like as much dirt, scum, and just like that's why I think the pirates, this freaky pirate things in the Pirate of the Caribbean movies looked really good because they were just dirty. They had like fucking shit growing on them, and it looked just disgusting. That you could smell the fucking things on screen, and that's why they looked so real, and that's why they fit so well into the movie because they were dirty. You make something look dirty, it will fit so much better on screen. It'll look so much better on screen.
Mm-hmm. And clearly, this is one of the better CG movies I've seen in quite a while.
Yeah.
Like they integrated it all so very well, and like it, you know, that's actually something that's worth talking about a little bit. I'm gonna assume you liked it, Bill, but did you have some trepidation about going from pseudomation to CG?
No, not really at all. I mean, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I hope they use pseudomation in this fucking movie. It was pretty obvious they were going to do CG. The only trepidation I had about it was making Godzilla's classic silhouette look good in CG. And I had concerns about that for a long time because it has been done and it didn't look that good. There was a movie called Always 2 that came out in 2007. And it was made by Toho, and in the opening, in the pre-credit scene is a dream, and the character is dreaming about living in a Godzilla attack. It's a big reference to their other big franchise, and Godzilla was done in CG, and the CG is not bad, but it's just the design just didn't really work in CG, and that was my concern. But what really worked was
whoa. What movie? What movie was this?
It's called Always 2. Just look up Always 2. If you look at it on YouTube, the scene will immediately pop up. Just look Always 2
What's
Godzilla.
this movie about? What's it about?
I have no idea. All I know is Godzilla's in it. That's how I look at everything. Is Godzilla in it? No, don't care. It took me a long time to see Raiders of the Lost Ark because of that. It was only when I found out Steven Spielberg was a Godzilla fan that I decided to watch it.
Citizen Kane, is Godzilla in it? No, but there are pterodactyls. Okay, so...
Nice reference. But,
what should I look up to? Something what?
Good in CG than I did about
Don't worry about it.
actually using CG.
Wait. You can look up after the show.
But it came out good. And all the changes they made, really, in terms of his posture and in terms of the feet, although
yeah,
I still don't understand why he has to have stubby feet, but whatever, it looks good in the movie.
Well, it's mostly like elephantine. Why do elephants have such large, round feet? Because you need something large and...
Don't give me your science.
So I don't want to complicate this with logic, alright?
I mean, like, if you have that thing that fucking huge, you gotta have huge, giant stumps for feet. You know?
Well, why can't he have just huge, giant feet with fucking kick-ass claws?
Yeah, that's my thing. I mean, what they did with the perfect
like that's honestly what it is for me. I just
steps on the fucking Muto, you feel it because it's like, imagine you're that fucking Muto. You're just like, I wake up after millions of years of sleeping. I'm trying to get laid, and this fucking giant serial killer is trying to kill me, and now it's about to step on me. Fuck.
One problem I have with this, and like I don't know how they could fix it without giving us Muto porn, but. Like,
that's what you're gonna say, yeah.
No, you see the female Muto, and she's already got eggs.
Right.
And then you see the eggs planted near the bomb, and then they're all, like, you know, swimming around. So I'm like, did the male, like, drop sperm on her like really quick? Like what happened? And it's just see him give her the little nuclear missile.
Let me
and
explain this in extreme detail.
Oh God.
Well, essentially, like, come on, you're a giant, monster fan. I guess you'd find this fascinating. Those things looked quite insect-like, and I think most insects or most animals, and mostly like fish or octopi, they essentially, the female excretes the eggs into a certain place, into a little hole or whatever place, the little nest, and the male comes along and essentially fertilizes them with his spunk, and so
fertilize. That's what I wanted.
Right. Yeah.
That's how it's done, and then, the stork comes down from the heavens and gives the Mama Muto her sweet little, you know how it's done.
Dude, Bill. I want to see a gigantic kaiju size stork now that brings kaiju babies.
There was a giant condor in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. Does that count?
Yeah.
No.
Damn it.
It needs to be a stork, and it needs to look like the dill pickle guy, and yeah.
I agree. I don't understand. Well, I get the fertilization thing. It's just weird, though.
It's a matter of time.
Yeah, exactly. I just think
sometimes men, sometimes.
And it really has to be fertilization because we see the eggs before the female and male ever meet. So it can only be fertilization. There really is no way to show it without getting gross. So I kind of appreciate.
I understand the decision. It needs you know what you need? Instead of showing it, you need to see a lot of people looking at it and then look away in disgust.
Or just be like, ew. Or no, just have Serizawa explain it. Just be like, so Dr. Serizawa, we saw the thing pregnant even though they haven't met yet. Well, you see, the reason is because Godzilla no.
No. The reason is because brown chicken, brown cow.
The reason is because the male has to come on the female's egg.
Stop.
Why does Ken Watanabe sound Russian? Shut that man up.
No, you just sound extraordinarily racist, and I used the N-word later on,
That's how
earlier
he
on.
sounds in the movie.
Asian people don't sound like Asian people if white people make them sound like that.
We're overplaying that accent, though.
No,
he really was.
He is hamming up that accent.
Look, dude.
Which I appreciate, though.
Even if that is how he sounded in the movie, you're white and you cannot say that because reasons.
You, I can do what I want, bitch.
Oh, okay then. That's cool. I really don't care. Be as racist as you want. Oh, yes, sir. Sorry, master.
What was I about to say? Oh, speaking of Ken Watanabe and
I love that guy.
Connections to Godzilla, his fucking I just learned this today. His wife is in GMK.
Oh, really?
I don't know which role, but when I heard that, I was like, their kids are definitely going to be in a Godzilla movie now. Like they have to. Like both of your parents were in different Godzilla movies before they met. So, or one of them was in a Godzilla movie.
Better than the other.
They met the other one who is now in a Godzilla movie. So, it's like you're the kids just like, now we have to be in a Godzilla movie like Papa and Mama. And then they're like in some crappy like future reboot of Godzilla where he's like, I don't know how you talk up Godzilla.
He's a dubstep DJ. Godzilla
right, he's a dubstep DJ. And he's not fighting other monsters. He's fighting an evil corporation who wants to tear down his fucking club and build something else there. That's the new Godzilla.
Oh my God, yeah. Godzilla! We need to Godzilla. We need to save the orphanage by entering into this dubstep remix competition. All right, Timmy, let's break it down.
No. Here's the Godzilla.
And Godzilla turns his hat like he's fucking. It doesn't matter.
Here's my pitch for Godzilla 2. So the children of Dr. Serizawa and whatever Japanese woman he ends up with or whatever, or if he ends up with his assistant, which has been the center of many hentai over these past few weeks.
Damn.
Yeah, the Godzilla community is quick like that. They're dubstep DJs and they have their club and this corporation wants to tear it down. So instead, they wake up Godzilla to kill the corporation and destroy the economy, so that way the corporation then has other worse problems to deal with and leaves their club alone. They, of course, have to die in this because that's a really fucking stupid plan. But it's a genius idea.
Bill, you're an artist,
Right?
truly.
This is the Godzilla movie.
It's a very
This is why they've
genius
never let people
plan,
make a
but
Godzilla
it's a
movie.
stupid
Like,
idea.
I want to see what Godzilla does in his off time. What's he doing when he's not bringing balance to nature?
I don't know.
Just swims a lot, I guess. Seems kind of boring.
Like, Godzilla's life, I mean, here's the thing. There's a prequel comic to this. I don't know if you guys have even, like, heard about it or whatever, called Godzilla Awakening. And, I honestly hope it's not actually canon when they make the sequel, because it's a fucking mess.
Oh, yeah?
And
when has any sort of tie-in merchandise ever been in canon anywhere before the actual sequel came out?
No, but it was supposed to be in the movie, and I'm really glad it's not, because it's...
Dude, like, the Spider-Man 2, like, the Spider-Man PlayStation 2 games, well, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 games were supposed to be...
The rhinos in it,
Yeah, they're supposed to be in continuity. I'm like, yeah, fuck off. No.
And it was supposed to be canon, and it was supposed to be in the movie. Here's why I don't like it, and why it makes no sense. A couple words. Sailboats, 250 million years ago. That's it.
Well, come on, Bill. Don't you know about time-traveling sailboats?
I guess
Yeah,
so,
dude.
but more than that, sperm whales, 250 million years ago. What the fuck,
That's
Mike
pretty
Bernstein? What the fuck?
Sperm whales? What's wrong with sperm whales?
Because they hadn't
They
evolved
wouldn't-
yet.
Really?
At best, they would be land mammals.
The whales didn't evolve until way after dinosaurs went extinct, and Godzilla's species went extinct before dinosaurs went extinct. So fuck you. It's just...
You're a little genius regarding, like, biology and ancient dinosaur lore. God damn.
I really studied up on this before I saw the movie. I read the Monarch Files. That's what I want. Fuck Godzilla Awakening. I want the Monarch Files.
What the fuck is the Monarch Files? I keep hearing that name in your like Demons from Outer Space podcast. Shameless plug.
Monarch is the organization that looks for giant monsters. It's in the movie.
Oh.
No, I don't know. Like, I think we're getting kind of close to wrapping up on just the movie itself. I want to talk about a serious sequel that does not involve dubstep.
Well, wait a minute. Before we go, we haven't mentioned something that I thought would eventually come up because A, we're DC Comics fans, and B, Ian, I at least know you're a Breaking Bad fan. Fucking Bryan Cranston is amazing in this movie.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, for the very short time that he's around.
Well, let's talk about that, because I had this when I saw the movie again today. The movie is incredible at its emotional intensity, despite the fact that it has very little to do with Godzilla for the first 40-45 minutes, or however long Bryan Cranston is in the movie. There's a gap of like maybe 10 minutes of just screen time, where the movie just kind of feels empty after that, because he's not the protagonist for that time, but he's on screen for a majority of it, and he's really... Not only is he the best actor in the movie at that point, but he's also just bringing the most emotional intensity to the film. So once you lose him, it just kind of feels like, oh, all right, now what? So you kind of have to re-gear. It's kind of a less... It's not as big of a problem as this, but it reminds me a little bit of Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin, where after we find out he's not the villain, you kind of have to re-gear yourself to get back into the movie with what the new direction is.
Yeah, like, I think that is probably the biggest mistake in the movie, and I don't think it would have been if he had not been in every trailer, you know?
Oh, God, yeah, that was, yeah, absolutely.
Like, I will praise this movie for not spoiling the fucking film with the trailers, but still, do not feature him that heavily if he's not going to be in the movie for that long.
Right. Well, it was just a big marketing ploy, and that's what pisses me off so much about it, is because when he dies makes sense with his character. It's just, the way it was marketed was just so fucking like, oh, Breaking Bad fans, come and see this movie. A friend of mine from high school messaged me the day after the movie opened asking me if I should see it, and I was like, well, what the fuck do you think I'm going to say? Yeah. And he goes, well, I ask you because is Bryan Cranston in it a lot, because that's kind of the reason I want to see it. And I was like, do I lie in this situation? I didn't. I was just like, well, listen, because he had also heard that Godzilla doesn't have a ton of screen time. Listen, both of those things are true. But I promise you, the way it comes together is just so fucking fun and engaging that it'll all make sense when you see it. So I do recommend it. But I am warning you that, yeah, it's not 2 hours of Godzilla fighting stuff, and no, it's not 2 hours of Bryan Cranston screaming. So just don't go into
This should just be a video. This should just be a movie where Bryan Cranston just looks intensely into the camera and screams incoherently.
No, really what they should have done is if they would have wanted to play...
Milan, we're not making a movie that you write.
Come on, it'd be awesome. You'll be wearing a funny hat.
Who wasn't a diehard Godzilla fan going to see this is just have it be 2 hours of Godzilla fighting the Mutos and Bryan Cranston just reacting to it. It's like Bryan Cranston doing like a fight commentary on the fight. You know what I mean?
No.
The Mutos are fighting something.
No. This is how it's gonna go. Just Bryan Cranston falls into a vat of toxic waste and grows gigantic, and then he fights Godzilla.
No, the best thing I saw was Bryan Cranston becomes Jet Jaguar and grows to Jet Jaguar size to fight Godzilla. That's what I wanted.
That's what I just said, motherfucker.
No, it's different because you didn't make a reference to Godzilla canon, so fuck you.
Oh, fuck you.
I'm
you
kidding.
and your... I know who Jet Jaguar is. It is like Ultraman, but not good.
Yeah, well, actually, they made him badass in Rulers of Earth, but yeah,
Of course they did. I truly believe you.
They did.
Okay.
They had him fly into Orga and blow up inside of Orga. That is badass.
I don't know who Orga is, dude.
Whatever, it's a giant monster.
Okay. In all seriousness, now let's talk about potential for sequels that does not involve dubstep or song and dance numbers.
I do want Jet Jaguar though. I do want the Jet Jaguar song.
I don't.
Jet Jaguar, Jet Jaguar, I love that song.
Here's my thing. All right, so we've introduced an Americanized Godzilla that's still taken very seriously and it works. So I think the place you have to go is you have to introduce one of Godzilla's villains and actually make it a big thing. So this movie is like all about how Godzilla's this, apex predator. He's just the ultimate, force of nature and everything. I think you got to do like a predator rivalry and introduce Ghidorah. That's my premise for it. I don't know how you interweave that with a human story, but I think that you have to bring in one of his villains because you need to see that. This is a very Batman Begins movie in a lot of ways, and I think you need like that Dark Knight thing where the ultimate quote-unquote bad guy for the villain shows up kind of thing.
I want Ghidorah so bad. My body is ready for Ghidorah. Either that or the one they're batting around Ghidorah, but they're also batting around Mothra. And
no.
Why not Mothra, dude? Fuck you.
I just don't like Mothra.
Nobody likes Mothra, but Mothra has potential, man. Well, the way I heard her pitched was, what if she was like controlling an art? What if she was like the apex top Muto specimen, and she was controlling it? Which I guess kind of, it's a good way to build on what was done originally, and that makes her dangerous because if Godzilla could only barely handle 2 Mutos, imagine him fighting like the queen of all Mutos.
What about the 2 fairies? Hold on, like, but and she was like,
how you can work in the Twin Fairies, Bill?
They didn't need the Twin Fairies in GMK to make Mothra badass.
Mothra wasn't very badass in GMK.
Well, it doesn't matter. She was still in it.
All she does is die and give King Ghidorah wings so that he can die again.
I don't care, man. She was badass
Bill,
what she did. She fucking fucked Godzilla and shit. You could do Mothra, although I want to see Ghidorah more. Honestly, and this may sound, and I said this on DFOS, so it wouldn't sound that controversial because people probably heard it already, but I want to see Hedorah more than I want to see Mothra. Which Hedorah is not a very popular Godzilla villain, but not only would it work in this continuity because Hedorah is this pollution. Like, you just do it with a biological weapon. This way you don't have to constantly go back to the fucking, it was a prehistoric animal when the Earth was more radioactive. Like, just do it with a biological weapon that feeds on pollution and then forms this giant creature.
No. You know what we should do? We should take the movie Noah and make it into the... Oh my god, that's what you do. Like, it's, this is essentially a giant environmentalist thing, and Noah was a giant environmentalist thing. So essentially, what we need is somehow tied into Noah.
Okay. Well, how about a serious?
Okay. Let me just say this. Let me tell you what the buzz has been around what they're trying to do. Okay. Gareth Edwards has said that the one thing he knows he wants to incorporate into the sequel is a more realistic take on Monster Island. Meaning, the idea is, from Destroy All Monsters, that the United Nations has found a way to get all of the world's most dangerous monsters, put them in one place so they can just fight each other, and that way they won't be attacking us. And Gareth Edwards wanted to do a more realistic version of that. I thought that was retarded the first time I heard it, but then I rewatched Destroy All Monsters and I thought of this. The opening of this movie almost has to be, in my mind, especially with the way this movie ends, is it has to be just the governments of the world and the world in general having the question of, do we kill Godzilla? Or try to. Because despite the fact that he may or may not have saved us from the Mutos, he is still a very, very dangerous threat if he did decide to turn against us. It's kind of the Superman question of, can we trust him not to turn against us? And with Godzilla, it's even more likely that he'll turn against us, especially based on what we see in this movie. So, the idea would be, you open the movie with a bunch of different people with differing opinions on what to do about Godzilla. Some people say leave him alone, some people say we gotta get rid of him because, yes, now the more dangerous threat is out of the way, so let's just get rid of him because we don't need him anymore. And then you open the movie in that way, and then build upon that to somehow introduce the new monster. That's, to me, how you do Hedorah, and you could also probably do Ghidorah somehow with that as well.
Dude, this is what you do. Like, we thought he was the one who... they say, like, he opens up the movie, or the trailer opens up, and basically they say, we thought Godzilla was the last one, but more are waking up. And they just show like this montage of these giant fucking monsters rising up, and the Godzilla's return, kind of like they could talk about how all those monsters kind of went into like 1,000-year hibernation, and you know, with Godzilla being the apex predator and him waking up, all his like other rivals start waking up also, and so Godzilla's return kind of signals everyone else, like Ghidorah and all those other guys' return as well. And so it's
that's
just
also
like...
how you do Rodan, in my opinion. Like, that's
exactly, Rodan.
Rodan and Anguirus.
Yeah, that's what you do. And essentially, you can have the whole, you know, the whole Monster Island thing going on. Like,
yeah, that would more likely have to be like a continent. Like, Milan, I'm sorry, but we'd probably have to get rid of Australia and make that Monster Island. With how big Godzilla is in this continuity.
I think Monster Island would be a better premise for a third movie as opposed to a second, because I think you need to slowly integrate, you know... Because, alright, weird thing to go for, but I finished watching the 98 cartoon. One of the things that really works about how they create their own version of Monster Island is you see all the monsters that Godzilla's fought already on that island. And I think you kind of need that to a certain extent. You kind of need to see them... the monsters don't matter if you don't know how hard they are to beat on their own.
Right.
So I think you kind of need that as like a third movie kind of thing.
Though, let me propose this, especially with one of the major complaints being for this film, not just by us, but by everybody, that there isn't enough Godzilla fights. What if you open the movie with a montage? Or not open it, but you have a montage of Godzilla just fighting a bunch of different monsters, and then you have it take place over a wider span of time, and then build into Monster Island in that way.
That'd be okay-ish, but that'll kind of... I still think Monster Island works better as a third movie kind of thing.
I do think, though, what the second movie really ought to
It's kind of like starting a Batman franchise with Nightfall.
Right. Well, I think what the second movie very much so needs to be is the dawn of the Age of Monsters is beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because now Godzilla's back, and the Mutos attacked, and now the consciousness of giant monsters is in the world. So it's kind of this is going to sound weird, but the San Francisco attack should be the 9/11 of this universe.
Yeah, you know what? Make Ghidorah like the main threats throughout the movie. Or no, wait, hold on. Let me rephrase that. Make there be several monsters that Godzilla fights throughout the movie, and make Ghidorah the like, you know, climax fight.
Yeah.
And then do Monster Island after that.
Right. I agree. I'd be down.
I just think that it's problematic to, you know, say, oh, there's this island with all these giant monsters.
That
well, they lack scale. They lack if you do it that way, it'll lack what's the word I want?
Gravitas.
Impact. Gravitas. Impact.
Yeah,
it'll lack meaning behind it because if the humans could just trap them on an island, they must not be that big a threat anyway.
Right. Well, I also thought, when he said Monster Island, my concern was, don't tell me he's going to be like, there was an island filled with giant monsters just like Godzilla, and we never knew. That's my concern. It's just that...
So you don't want Skull Island, basically.
Right, exactly. And that's not the worst thing ever, but it's still pretty, like that. It oversimplifies things. I just think I think that this movie has the potential to have a really fucking awesome sequel. And I really think that they have the potential to make a really incredible way to build on this universe and use the events of this film to do something really interesting with this character and with the universe where he exists and he has impact. So I just can't wait to see it. And what they do with it. I just want like the first 5 minutes to be like flash, like news flashes of just like fucking Godzilla did this, and here's my take on. Oh, well, you know the ending of Superman Earth 1, where there's just like a page of just people giving their thoughts on Superman.
Yeah.
And everybody's got a different thing. Some people think he's an angel. Oh, the last time somebody called themselves the Superman, it was the 1930s, and making reference to the Nazis. That's what they ought to do with Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
So that's what I want to see.
Okay.
Bill O'Reilly's take on, like, I just love to see Bill O'Reilly's take on Godzilla. It's like, yeah?
He was in Iron Man. He was in all the Iron Man films, wasn't he?
No, I think he was only in Iron Man 2.
Okay.
He was also in Transformers 3.
Yeah, he'd probably do it.
Fulfilling the same role. I wonder what his take on Godzilla would be like. Well, he's against sex, which I'm okay with.
He what?
All right,
He what?
He's against sex.
He's against sex.
You haven't heard the memes of like Godzilla in this movie is the giant cock blocker?
Oh, that makes so much more sense. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, I'm about all tapped out. Anyone got final thoughts? And Bill, you're excluded from that because you're gonna just talk about this movie for 17 hours.
Godzilla. I like to see Russia's take on this. Like, how would Godzilla versus Putin?
Just Putin fights him.
Oh, jeez.
Fag lizard man.
He's also against the sex. I like this giant lizard man.
No, he's a gay. No, he is pro-gay sex. Now he must die. You cannot go back to Russia.
Godzilla's fucking pro-gay sex.
That's
I want to know Godzilla's political views.
All right,
that's awesome.
That's obviously the extent of Milan's deeper thinking. I look to see Putin fight everything.
And dubstep. Dubstep must be involved.
Superman,
yes,
because I'm a hipster.
Oh, shut up.
Okay.
No, Putin fighting everything to the soundtrack of dubstep.
Okay then. Anyway, let's go ahead and do a score real quick. Bill, why don't you start?
Oh, Jesus. I'm going to give Godzilla 2014 4.5 stopped Hiroshima stopwatches out of 5.
How about you, Milan?
I give this 5 out of 5 weird alien Muto egg sacs.
Okay. I'm going to give this movie 4 out of 5 hopefully deleted scenes of Muto mating rituals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because lighting candles and shit.
Yeah, like I want to see like some Muto porn now. That'd be pretty sweet.
You and me both, my friend. You and me
just
both.
gotta type in the right words on Google, man. It'll show up.
Okay, everyone. All right, so later this week we're doing Green Lantern Emerald Knights, the animated movie. Bill, you should be able to join us for that. It's really short. Shouldn't be that hard to get a hold of.
Ooh, I can't.
Oh, you can't at all?
No.
Is it because you're doing something Friday? Because I was actually going to have a question about that. Let's talk about it
Yeah, let's
afterwards.
Let's talk about it after the show.
Okay, anyway, so everyone, Green Lantern Emerald Knights should be a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you for listening, and until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I am the Phonetic.
And I am the Madman.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.
might stay by your house. My house is kind of infested with anally violating weasels. Is it cool if I crash here for the night? Or a week? Or maybe a month or so?